How many of you guys have had a chance to watch the pre-training? For those of you who don't know, I am, just so you guys have a little bit more time to process the information and consume when you want to. I am releasing pre-videos. This one is only like 15 minutes long. I'm trying to keep them under 20 minutes of the actual training so you guys can watch, and then we can just talk about questions. So it's totally okay if you didn't get to the video. Taryn said she watched. I can quickly like kind of flip through the slides, and then Taryn actually submitted a photo to me via email that we're going to go over. And then I will take any questions that pertain to holiday food styling. And just a heads up to you guys, you photographers, we're approaching Black Friday, and there was a post in Shift You today that reminded me. So if you guys are in the market for new equipment, now is a really great time of year to be looking. And then for some reason around like Father's Day, there's a lot of sales. There's a lot of sales around like Memorial and Labor Day, but right now like Black Friday deals are really big. I got a really, yeah, Amanda, sorry. I normally don't open up for images, but it's something that we can start again with the hot seats. But since we don't have a lot of people on the call today, I think we will have time to go over. But yes, I normally don't take images just so I'm not inundated and we're not just going over images the whole time. But I'm going to take Taryn's today, and I think it'll be helpful for you guys because there's not a lot of us. I think we'll have time to talk through. And if you want to submit one next time, you definitely can. But anyway, yes. So if you, B&H is a good place to look. There might be local places that you have that you can stop in. I recommend if you are in the market for equipment, stop in an actual camera store and look at what you want before you make a purchase. But I know last year I wanted a macro lens, and the one I have, I forget, I think I paid like $200 or $300 less for it last year. And I bought it, I think I did buy it in January. So check around Black Friday and then like post like Christmas deals. So anyway, that aside, just wanted to give you guys a heads up before Black Friday. If you're in the market for stuff, happy to, Amanda, do you have a Canon? I have the Canon 100 millimeter macro. However, when I was in a camera store, apparently Tamron makes a comparable lens. I was going to get that one. I think when I was looking like a year and a half ago, it was like $699. It was not on sale, the Tamron lens. So like the Canon and the Tamron ended up being like about the same cost. So I went with, yeah, Tamron, I think it is. Let me double check. TMR. Yeah, Tamron. Theirs is a 90 millimeter macro. So when I was in a camera store, they showed me that one. And the gentleman that I was working with was like, I think this is, I'll type that in the chat. Maybe. 90 millimeter. Not 9 millimeter. Wow, we're not talking about firearms. Anyway, so they have a 90 that is apparently very comparable to the Canon 100, and it should be compatible with your camera. I would definitely like check with a professional in the store and take a look at it. Maybe they'll even let you put it on your camera body so you can see what you think. I did not purchase that one, but just letting you guys know that there is one out there that can be comparable if you don't get the sale, or if that one goes on sale and is even less. Because I think like the full retail value is like $200 less than a Canon. But yeah, any other questions on equipment before we get started? I just wanted you guys to remember that before. Okay. I'm going to then share my screen really quickly because just for these first couple of trainings, while we are switching over to this new format, I am going to just kind of flip through the trainings that I have previously written. Wow, sorry guys. I'm going to flip through the trainings that I've written just because I know this is a new format and I want to make sure you guys see the content, but go ahead and like watch my actual training because there's audio to it after this training. And then you can always post in Shift You if you have more questions. But I just wanted to go last time, there was a request for a food styling training. And so I thought we would do some holiday tips just because I know we are all probably shooting a lot of content right now. So I just want to go over some things. I want to remind you guys that you should be going out and getting inspiration. So add to your inspiration boards, whether that's on Pinterest or Instagram, or just a quick Google search. Like I've been shooting, I was awarded the photography contract for my own cookbook. Partially that is due to the fact because it's venison and like it's hard to get like photographers in California, a lot of venison. And partially they wanted me to shoot it. So pretty much before like every image, I'm like really researching like how I want the image to look because it's going to live there forever. Not that I shouldn't be doing that for my blog, but it's just like something I've been relying on heavily lately. Not that I'm copying images, but I'm always getting inspiration and innovating how I can make things look better. And then we're going to talk about color, texture, and shapes. I want to talk to you guys about like intentionally keeping our plates clean and tips for cleaning up plates. I'm going to have you watch the training and look at the sheet that I provided for all the links for the tools that I use to clean up my plates. But we'll talk about that. And then I know cookies for me are like one of the hardest things to shoot because they're flat. And I know a lot of people feel the same way. So I just wanted to give you guys some tips there because I feel like a lot of us, no matter what holiday you're celebrating, cookies are sometimes in the equation. So we just talked about inspiration. I'm not going to spend a ton of time there, but I think a really great thing to do is focus on color during the holidays. So if there is a color that you really want, whether it's like red, green, maybe there's like blue and silver, I think a lot of times color and picking like one color and incorporating it into most of your photos is a really great idea. Sorry, I was just pulling up the chat. And then using contrasting colors is also a really great way to create some interest. So yeah, I would just pick one color that like really goes off of like a certain element that you're trying to incorporate and just keep using it so that your feed looks cohesive, especially like for a feed like Instagram or on your website if you want your look to look more cohesive. And you're using your social profiles as kind of like your resume for clients. Another thing that I think is huge during this time of year is texture. And this is the one thing I really want you guys to focus on. Taryn, we're going to talk a little bit about this in your image, but I just think like layering textures is a really great idea. So something that I want you guys to focus on for savory dishes, pretty much like every time you shoot them, like make sure you're using like coarse black pepper or salt on the finished product. Maybe you're using herbs, like there should be something on top of your dish that is an added layer on top of your actual dish so that things pop. I just think it adds a lot of interest to your photo, as opposed to like just having something like styled. And then I just put a list of things that could be really cool to add for texture, but make sure you're using like a textured board. So whether that's like marble or stone or wood, or kind of one of those like concrete looks, you can do newspaper, linens, like et cetera, and then put other things with texture. But so a great idea for savory dishes is salt, pepper, and herbs. And then for sweets, maybe like powdered sugar, whipped cream, ice cream, trying to think what else, like flaky salt for cookies. So something that goes on top of your subject that makes it look more interesting. That's going to elevate your image like no matter what. So that is a really good thing I want you guys to start focusing on. And I think I've been noticing that maybe that's an area that we could all improve on. So another thing is there's a lot of shapes this time of year. So there's a lot of round things, cookies, I spelled cookies wrong, sorry. Cookies, cakes, pies, and then like square things like brownies or bars. So make sure that if you have something round, you're shooting with other things that are round in your image. So maybe round plates, and the same thing with square. So keep those three things in mind. Color, so maybe incorporating like light colors, your images, contrasting colors, making sure all of your images with food have texture, and like linking shapes. And like a great thing to do too is like if you celebrate Christmas and you have cookies, maybe you incorporate like a round holiday like ornament balls. So just like play on the shapes that is the subject of your food. So one thing I really want to talk about with styling is intentional messiness. And this time of year, I know a lot of us are doing a lot of like casseroles and roasts and baked goods that don't necessarily look like perfect. Like it might not be like, I think I have an example. It just might not be the most like cohesive looking dish, which is great. But even if you're shooting things like out of a casserole dish or something that it's been baked in, or even if like you're shooting cookies like in the tray that they've been baked in or something like that, you should make sure any messiness has been made by you. It looks like Amanda has a question about crumbs. Yes, she asked if there is a way to intentionally make them look unintentional. Yes, there is. I will go over that in just a second. But yeah, I want you guys to focus on like any mess that is from the cooking process or from you putting stuff on a plate, clean it up. And then like if you want to add cookie crumbs, you physically go in and break the cookie crumbs and put them on the lines of the lines that you're following or where you're trying to draw someone's eye. So go back and watch that composition training I did earlier. It's actually linked in the cheat sheet and it's in Member Vault. But so say if you're like trying to draw someone's eye diagonally, make sure the crumbs, oh, sorry, jeez. Hold on. Nope. Okay, there we go. So your crumbs, you always want to place them on the lines that you're trying to follow with your composition. So whether you make them like point towards the cookie that you're trying to draw someone's eye to, whether they are kind of like in the corner, kind of drawing someone's eye into the center of the photo. So always place them yourself on a line. And do it yourself. So break up the cookie yourself. I mean, if you have a lot of good sized crumbs from baking, you want to save them and then put them back on the board, that's fine. But always remove anything that has happened from you placing and cooking and then put them in yourself. And then in the training, which I want you guys to go back through, like these fake eyelash tweezers and things like that, or like really, it's like an under $5 item off of Amazon. It's a really great thing to use, like to place things if your fingers are kind of clumsy. I can normally just use my fingers. I normally use these fake eyelash tweezers for like hair, like a dog hair or something like that. But yes, so crumbs should always be intentional. It should not just be like, oh, it fell on the plate. So does that answer your question, Amanda? And another thing with crumbs, like you always want to use like different sizes too. Like one maybe larger piece, a medium, and then a small, and then kind of like trailing out. And then another thing that I find that works well, especially for ceramic casserole dishes, if you get splatters during baking, like say you're doing like a green bean or like a cheesy potato casserole, while the dish is hot, use a wet towel and wipe it around the edge of the dishes and everything comes like right up. And it's not like you take it out of the oven and it cools and you're scraping it. It just comes right up. So think about cleaning up after yourself and everything should be done by you. And okay, so then we're going to move on to tips for shooting cookies. And if you guys have more cookie questions, but my favorite angle for cookies is usually overhead or straight on. So if you're going to shoot cookies overhead, you need to make sure you have, like, I would say at least 2 textures underneath of the cookies. So maybe like a marble slab with like newspaper and then a cookie tray over it, or just a marble slab and like a cookie cooling rack or something like that. Like cookie cooling racks are great. And then I want you to stack some of the cookies on top of each other so that it's not just like a flat layer of cookies. Where cookies are problematic is where they will look one-dimensional. And then if you want to stack them on top of each other and shoot them straight on, make sure you have something else tall in the frame. I think that works well. Like, so maybe a glass of milk, or maybe like some flowers in the background, or something that's like kind of tall, so they're not like the only thing in the shot that has height. I think that just balances it out. Tell a story, the name of the game, that's texture. Watch the original recording. There's more on this there. So I'm going to stop my screen share and take questions from you guys. Do you guys have any more questions on holiday food styling? Feel free to open up, post in the chat. We can troubleshoot. Oh, lights. Amanda, can you talk? You bought some, like little twinkle lights? Okay. She said, hang on.
I think this will be faster. So I bought some of those little twinkle light things, and I tried using them in a shoot recently. And I found it was like really difficult to try and style the lights like the way I wanted them to go in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any like sort of tips on how I can get them to cooperate?
I know. I've never used them before. I think they're really fun. When I have styled them around my house, I make sure to kind of like stretch them first and then place. And then another thing I think could be really helpful, if you can discreetly hide it, is that museum putty that I linked in the like styling tips and the things that I use for food styling. I don't know if you've ever used museum putty before, but I used to use it when I was a kid in my dollhouse. It's basically
glue tack.
Yes, it's like glue tack. I think if you could hide that, or like pull a couple pieces taut on the side of your board and then just kind of like lay on top. So it was everything getting like bulky and big for you and just kind of like messy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would try to like stretch it out first and keep like almost as much as you can off the board. And then like maybe tape some of the edges with, I guess you could use tape too, but that museum putty is just like really pliable. I think it works really well. So maybe grab some of that. It's like less than $5 for like a good bit of it, and you can reuse it. Like I've had mine for at least 6 months and I've only used like this much because I keep reusing the same. Like most of my knives and forks have it on the back of it. So I just like stick it. So like you could just leave it on there. So try that. And then I wonder if there's even like a YouTube video or something that you could look up. I'll see if I can find something too.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Taryn says Jennifer from Wanderlust and Wellness has used them. Yes, she has. There's someone else. It might be Molly Krebs with Spices in My DNA. I think she uses them too. And I think she places them like very far in the background as well and uses them with like a darker backdrop. So yeah. So like it's not like as in your face as well. So you might want to try it first with like a straight on angle. And like put them way in the back so it's not like you can't really see, and then maybe bumped on your aperture so only the just kind of subject. Yeah. Okay. I think that might be really. I'm excited though. I'm excited. Tag me when you post the recipe or photo or whatever because I think they're really cool. I just haven't made the purchase yet, but I would do that. I would bump down your aperture, try to get like a lot of depth of field so you're not seeing wires. Okay. So it's just like a little glow.
Great.
Another thing that I've been doing lately, just on that note, one thing that is really easy to do, real flame candles. If you have a self timer in your camera, it's really fun to even have them lit or like set the self timer and like the second before it takes the shot, blow it out and there's smoke. It's way easier than I thought. So if that's not working so Amanda, there's this hot cocoa sandwich cookies from Jennifer. If you want to open that up in your browser. Thank you, Taryn. She has some ideas there. But try real candles as well. If you have like candlesticks or like small, I don't know that tea lights would work well. I just have like white pillar candles. They're really fun if you're looking for some light and brightness. I don't know if anybody's ever tried that before, but I like them.
I was going to try and do one of those like blown out candle shots because I think those look really cool. But so what sort of speed would you like have your camera on to get that? Sorry, there's sirens going off.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. So I bump up my shutter speed as high as I can. Okay. And so like my ISO, I think was a little higher than maybe normal if it was not a super, super bright day. Let me see here. I can tell you. And my pillar candles are about, how tall is that? Maybe like 8 inches. I have a lot of different sizes, but I would say maybe like 5 to 8 inches. Sorry, I'm just looking for a picture. What did I do this for? Oh, I'll share my screen. Okay. All right, so yeah, my ISO was at 1250. I was at 3.5, and then I was 1/800 for my shutter speed, which is pretty high. And you can see there's like a good amount of, I have more? No, I guess not. I guess that was it. Weird. Yeah, but you can kind of see there. So yeah, oh, Taryn, did you see how tall my pillar candles were? They're like kind of short. You can use a lot of different, like I had a small melted one. I think it looks like cool if you have a couple. I don't think they need to be huge. And you could use like the skinny candlesticks, like the taper candles. I just like my friend thrifted a really cool like candelabra for me. So I'm planning on doing one of those in the background and something too. But I found that was like way easier to do than I thought it was. So I have a 10-second timer. And once I hear it go, like it beeps, it counts down from 10. And once it goes beep, 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 I blow it out and it's like, boom, it's easy. So, and you can always relight it and do it again if you don't like it. So anyway, went down that candle rabbit hole. Any other questions before we go over Taryn's image? Felt free to open up, you guys. Okay. Then we're going to move on to Taryn's image, which she so kindly sent over. Oh, I should share my screen. Okie dokie. So Taryn was just asking for general feedback on this really lovely green bean dish. And I have a couple suggestions. She was wondering, like she wanted to balance the photo out. Her first kind of specific question was about this plate here with the green beans. And I actually really like that there. I think it balances out the whole frame. I like how the green beans point towards these green beans. It really like kind of draws your eye. I think this napkin is a super smart idea. I think it adds a layer of interest. It looks really nice with these like, are these caramelized shallots or onions? So the thing that I would say, Taryn, to you is focus on more texture on top of caramelized shallots, yes. So I would say focus on more texture on top of the green beans. So I would do fresh cracked pepper. And then I would move these guys. I see where you were going with the lines of these utensils. I would stack these on top of each other. I think it's kind of hard to have large serving utensils take up so much room in the frame because they're so much bigger than your green beans. They kind of dominate it. So I would actually like kind of stack them on each other and maybe have them like right here and just kind of like peeking onto the plate. And to that point, I would style these shallots here. So it looks like you kind of like moved the utensils and it just, they are where they landed. I would like have moved this guy here and made sure there was plenty of shallots over here. The shallot end is looking heavy there. And I would distribute a little bit better. Other than that, I think your composition is really on. The thing I would say with you in editing, I would try to bump up that texture, that new feature in Lightroom. Use some of that texture, like bump up that texture icon that is like on top of like sharpness and clarity. And I would play around with a little bit more shadows and maybe tone your whites or highlights down just a little bit. They're getting a little bit blown out. Your white balance is like spot on. And I really enjoy the colors. I just think a little bit more shadow and depth could help. Yeah, Taryn said when you said before about pepper, you should have done that. I honestly think a little bit more texture here and moving these pieces of silverware would like make this a new picture. I think this is good. And I definitely think you're on the right track with your composition, but I would do a little bit more shadow, maybe pull your whites back just a smidge. And that might even be better done through your highlight panel, play around with it. The only thing I would say here is maybe a contrasting color would be really cool. So I don't know if you would consider maybe adding pomegranate seeds to this recipe. Or like, I don't know, like I really like the color linen you've chosen. I would not do a colored linen, but just like a small pop of color, or maybe pink peppercorns. Like if you used like pepper and then you could put like a couple pink peppercorns down here or something. I'm actually digging this white space though. Yeah, just something to give it a little like pop. But I genuinely think if these were just placed a little bit more intentionally, the shallots were distributed a little bit better. So like, don't be afraid to get in there with your fingers and like place everything. Yes, it's going to take a little more time, but like those people that you're seeing on Instagram, and this is, oh yeah, our strips of red pepper, Bonnie. That's a great idea. Like an almondine, like a green beans almondine. I know I have red pepper in my green bean almondine. But those people that you see, and this is something that I'm working on too, because like I tend to not be a type A personality, and like I will barrel through a shoot and then I'll look at my image later and be like, ooh, like I really could have been more intentional about where things are placed. And I sometimes don't think of it in the moment. So I understand this a lot. But those people that you're seeing, like that have those like insane photos, like it takes them a minute to get things where they need to be. Yeah, I do that. I barrel through a shoot. I get it. I've been there. So something that I started doing last year is like, I have like an image is never going to be perfect. And if you're striving for an image to be perfect, but I have like an 80% rule and I shoot for excellence is what I try to tell myself now. And if my work isn't like up to 80% of my best work, then it gets redone. Like, unfortunately for me, I get rushing. I get rushing, but like, and it's like, if it's not perfect and you're nitty gritty and picking something apart that's like fine and can go out, great. Like get it out. This time of year is tough. I get it. But like, if it's like 80% less than your like excellent work, then I would seriously strongly think about reshooting. And especially like if you guys are doing process photos and they aren't like 100%, someone might disagree with me, but like, if you do a shoot and you don't love it, maybe just reshoot the final images. Like don't painstakingly go through the whole process. Like I personally think with process photos, as long as your readers can see what's going on, it's all right if they're not like the Mona Lisa. I mean, obviously we want like, yeah, exactly. Taryn said her process shots are more about getting the point across. And like, not that we can't have beautiful process shots. And if you're not happy with your work and you want to redo it, like fine. That's totally fine. I'm going to stop my share. But that's a place where I started working from last year when I felt really frustrated and I felt stagnant. I just was like, I know what to do. I'm not doing it. Like I would see little things and I knew that I could have maybe like showed up a little bit better or like lessened my plate and have done like less, maybe better. So I really think you're on the right track, Taryn. I think that's a great shot. I think just with a little bit of texture and placing those shallots and a little more shadows, balancing out that highlight in Lightroom, like money shot. So yes. And so Amanda says, question about that. Are process shots really helping people with SEO? Because I really hate doing process shots with complicated bakes. I hate to break it to you, but especially with baking content, I'm going to go ahead and say yes. When did I start doing process shots? Trying to think. It was like summer of 2000. What year are we in? Summer of 2018. And yeah, my organic traffic has gone up over 800% since I have started doing process shots. Like now I am writing much better for SEO. My friend Gleneth helps me with SEO. Like there's a lot of things I've done as well, but I genuinely think process shots, especially with baked goods. Like if you go take a look at Sally's Baking Addiction, her like how to make a vanilla cake. The posts are long. Like there are process shots, there's troubleshooting, like, because what Google is doing is looking out for its viewers, and they're saying like, these people don't know how to make a yellow cake. So like, I'm going to pick the post to rank highest that shows them, those people that are visual learners, step-by-step steps on how to make the yellow cake. And I definitely even just feel like I get reader comments like, thank you so much for showing me how to do this. So like with simple stuff, like whatever. And like for starting out, don't go crazy. Like I don't try and overstyle them. It's literally like a bowl or like the picture of my food processor with like stuff in it. Like it's not insane. So like if you're like, I really don't want to do this, I don't want to style more photos, like just shoot what's going on then. Just get it out. Amanda says she ends up with so many baked goods that way and she can't give them away fast enough. Well, you don't have to shoot like a ton of. So wait, are you shooting, Amanda, explain this to me. Are you shooting more when you do process shots?
So when I do process shots, I have to re-bake the recipe usually because I'll have tested it before.
Oh.
And usually the final test that I do, I will shoot that.
Right.
So then if I need to do process shots, I would need to rebake that again and do the process shots there. So then I end up with like double or triple sometimes of what I'm making.
Right. I will say I do the same thing for baked goods. I always test before I shoot just because like you don't know if something's going to work or it's not going to look right. I don't know what else to tell you there. Like I feel like most bakers as well, like we have to test things at least 2 times because unless it's like your bread and butter that like you've been making since you were 10 and putting like up a family recipe, that's really something that you can't get around. But like maybe you guys with these process shots, it sounds like it's really overwhelming for you. Maybe we only do process shots for recipes that are already doing well in your websites. How does that feel? Like maybe don't do it for all your new content, especially maybe not during the holidays if your plate feels full. Maybe in the new year, like we take and like maybe what we can do in January is let's talk about revamping old content. Maybe being old content. So maybe in January, let's like table this, but maybe you look at your Google Analytics and if there's something that's like already doing kind of well, or if there's a recipe and you're like, man, I could rank for this and like it's doing okay, but it could do better. Maybe we add some process shots. So you're not like reinventing the wheel. I know it's hard for baking stuff. I don't really have a solution there other than like sometimes we waste, sometimes I give away. It's hard. Like I get it.
I really hate food waste. It like really
bothers me. I know it is really hard. I wonder, like, I don't know about like churches near you or like food banks. I don't know if there's like code, like food code, somewhere that's like close and convenient, or maybe even somewhere that would pick up from you. That could be a thing. Because I know I'm lucky because I just send it to work with Jared. I'm just like, take it out of here. I don't care what happens to it. It's just not in my house. Oh yeah. Jess Larson posts on like her personal Facebook page, and she's like, I've got brownies, minestrone soup, and this. Like, who needs meals? And people come to her house and pick it up. Like, because like that's the thing, you don't want to put more work on it yourself. That's a great suggestion, Taryn. So I don't know if you feel you could always like there's settings on Facebook too. You can always do just close friends.
Okay.
So you're not getting like creepos.
Yeah.
But
come. Yeah.
yeah. But that could be a good idea. Okay, but Taryn says when she's looking for a recipe, she's looking for process shots. I do too. I mean, especially when it's something that I don't know how to make. And like some of my favorite cookbooks growing up, like definitely had process shots in them. So just something to think about. Don't stress yourselves out right now because this time of year is like really crazy. But yeah, and Taryn says she has a holiday question. I am ready. If you want to unmute, go ahead.
Okay. So I, like for that green bean dish, right? Like
Mhm.
if I had been smart, I would have been thinking about this ahead of time. But
No.
what I would like to do is, and in your training, you kind of talked about um, adding some elements in that are specifically holiday. And then
Mhm.
I'm curious, like, I'd like to be able to do like a dual shoot, right? Like
Yes.
have like that type of picture, like the green bean picture, but then like what would be, I was struggling with like, do I add an ornament? That feels really cheesy. Like,
Right.
like what, I mean, and maybe like pomegranate seeds, right? Like that might be something good, although that kind of changes the recipe like a little bit, but
Yeah, that would
um,
change your recipe.
yeah. So like I was trying to think of like, I don't even know what the hell I would add, but it wouldn't be like, let me like super cheesy. You know what I
What
mean?
about just like a little bit of tinsel or something?
Yeah.
Or like small, different sized pine cones, like
Like
foraged, like
winter instead of holiday.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I would definitely say that. And like that, those shots, I always just save it for last. Like, so you're
Yes.
not like pulling or whatever.
Right.
Like I did that for, I was looking at it this morning, like coconut cream pies. I did them for Easter and made them into nests, but like I took a
Oh
bunch of
yeah.
photos without the nest. So like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
if somebody wants to make them for Christmas, it's not like an Easter nest. So just like build upon it. But I would say like, yeah, if you don't want it to look cheesy, just think like holly berries. If you're doing the Christmas route, like holly
Right. Yeah.
berries or, yeah, like pine or spruce is really great. Like things you can like find in the yard. Like I even think like I've used like dried like dead plants from my yard. Like obviously not gross, but like I have
I
those
know.
like cool like cattail looking things in the backyard. I've
Oh
definitely
yeah.
foraged them. Amanda used her fake Christmas tree. That's awesome. But I have like these like little picks and stuff that I've gotten at like Michael's that are nice. Like maybe if you have a little bit of a food budget right now, like stop by your Michael's and see if you like any. They have those little picks, and they're
Oh
normally
yeah.
under like $3.99. You could pick up
Yeah.
just a couple just for the corners to like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because I get what you mean. You don't want to put like glass balls everywhere and have this shiny crap. And when it's like, okay, here's like a beautiful green bean dish with shallots, like that's pretty elevated.
Yeah. Right. No, totally. I
um,
forgot about the Michaels. I'll have to check that
yeah,
out.
check there. That's where I
Okay.
go. Mm.
Okay. Good.
And usually right now
Thanks.
they have like a buy one, get one 50% off and you can
They're always having sales. Yeah, no,
yeah.
that's good. I
Mhm.
forgot about that. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Thank you. I have I'm
Yeah.
shooting a bunch of chocolate, some of them cookies in December, and the part of that is why I'm like, okay, how can I spruce this up? So
Yeah.
that's good.
For desserts, I think it's like it can be a little more whimsical, but I get what you're saying
Yeah,
for the green beans. But yeah, good. I hope that helps.
yeah, I did. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you guys have any more questions? Okay. Well, oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Amanda has one more. Go ahead. You can unmute if you want.
In terms of like flowers you buy from like craft shops and stuff, is there a way to make those look not as fake in your photos? Because I've shot them and there are times where I'm like, yeah, I can totally tell that's fake.
I am the worst person to ask for this because fake florals like make my skin like I can't even have them in my house. And I know like they're beautiful ones. I would say linked in my the tool sheet, I linked spray Evian water.
Mm,
That could be an interesting thing to do. Or what I said about the lights, I would place them way in the background and bump down your aperture. So there's a lot of depth of field.
yeah.
I think I've used fake eucalyptus before. And that's what I did. And it was actually for like a baby announcement for a friend. And I just had it like in the corner, like you couldn't really tell, but I would like back it up.
That's the kind of what I was wondering about because I can't seem to find like
Good
greenery,
eucalyptus.
like
Yeah,
or any type of greenery, like aside from
I know.
attached to flowers,
I
which
know.
doesn't work sometimes. So,
I actually grow eucalyptus now. I don't know if anyone's planted,
okay.
but I had it in my outside flower pot, and my garden center told me that they moved inside really well, and so I have them in my bathroom now. Um, and I am just like cutting and drying as they grow. So I don't know if that's an option, if that sounds like insane to you, but I live in a very like rural area where people do not buy flowers. So like I frequently like I have like nowhere to source from. So I understand your pain. I think that greenery, like fake greenery, is way better than soap flowers. So,
Okay.
and I would just say to put it in the background a little bit and like maybe try a vase with a opaque base that's not like a clear glass so they can't see the plastic stems.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, Taryn said most people who I know use flowers use fresh. Yeah. For buds, I would try and go fresh. But for greenery, check out what you can find at the craft store. And yeah. Any more questions? I hope this was helpful. I know this time of year can be like, what the heck do I do with my stuff to make it look good and seasonal? So, yeah. Well, are there any requests for December next month? Maybe we will talk about updating old content, maybe either in December for January, or I'm trying to think of what we want to do. I'm glad it was helpful. Is there any requests? You guys know I always will take them. Editing, okay. Okay.
Hey, Allie.
Yes.
What did that texture tool in Lightroom, where did you say
Oh,
that was? I can't find
yes.
it.
And maybe my version is more updated. Let me share my screen.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know though. I've had it for a little bit. Okay. Let me try and move this thing. It's always in my way. There we go. Whew. Okay, so it is under this panel right here, under the presence panel. So
Oh, mine doesn't have that.
maybe try updating because
Yeah.
like clarity is like really harsh.
Right.
You'll see that the texture is like, it's subtle, but it like literally makes textures pop. It's very cool. I like it a lot. So I would, if you don't have that, I would try updating because it's been huge.
Okay.
And I know Rachel with Two Love Studio has talked about it a lot too. So
has she? Okay.
yeah, try that one. It really like, if you were to put like salt and pepper, it would like make this pepper raise up. Like
Right. Yeah. Totally.
instead of that like fakey like clarity thing. Like when I bought my clarity up too much, it's like, well, it looks like I bought my clarity up.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Cool.
So,
Thanks.
yeah, try that. Good. Okay, so it will be the same format in December. I will be releasing a pre-video. I normally do it the Friday before, so you guys have the whole weekend and the beginning of the week to watch, and then we'll just do another Q&A call, and I'll refresh on the topic. So I will see you guys in December. So if you are in America, have a happy Thanksgiving, or I think Canadian Thanksgiving is gone, but yes. So I'll see you guys in December. Okay. Have a good day.